ready for an alternative narrative at the grassroots. Let's go beyond the headlines with Mr. Adio. The last time we spoke, you was a resource person for reputation management and media services. So when you walked in this time, I didn't know exactly what to call you, whether honorable or what.
Honorable or
what happened? When did you make the switch?
I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm just coming from another program where, you know, people were asking how the switch from being a reputation manager to politics. But I mean, as you know, I've always been in around the fringes of politics. I wrote several political columns for several newspapers, always offered political commentary, many on your TV station. So I've always been around the fringes of politics, and you know, I thought it was not enough to speak truth to power or to offer alternative ideas. I think it was more honorable to throw myself in the ring and see how I can use these ideas and experience that I've gathered over the years to drive change, starting from a local government level, which I find so dear, because I believe that fundamentally change will happen at the local governments. And if we are able to drive reforms at a local level, then we have a blueprint that we can scale at a state and at a national level. And I believe that the reason that we struggle to solve many problems at the national level is because we have never found solutions at the local level. And the reason we never found solutions at the local level was because we never took local governance seriously. We never put forward our best 11 at local governments. Is largely ignored by not just the political elites, but even the citizenry who do not care so much about who governs them at the local level. And that's why I'm really and truly running, you know, to change that narrative.
But you're omitting the reality that it's also usually an appendage of the powers that be, both at the federal and state level. Because Lagos, for instance, have historically been dominated by the APC.
Yes.
I'm wondering what makes you believe Etiosa is ready for a youth party-led administration.
Well, I mean, first of all, your opening was brilliant. And you're probably the first TV anchor that has given that kind of opening, speaking to local government issues, when you clearly stated that 20 constitutionally recognized local governments and 37 LCDAs. And then you have to ask the question, maybe we have to put it through the AGF, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, why we are still running illegal 37 LCDAs when there should be just 20 recognized local governments in Lagos. We also have to probe further to ask from where do the State Electoral Commission derive their powers to delineate wards and polling units in Lagos State that should be the exclusive purview, you know, of INEC, right? But having said that, to your, you know, more important question of whether Etiosa is ready for a youth party-led administration, what I can tell you for free is that Etiosa is tired, you know, of the mediocrity that has been served them over several years. Mediocrity so bad, so embarrassing, that we now have local governments that are so incapacitated, or to put it more bluntly, so incompetent to even collect waste, not to talk of implementing sensible and pragmatic waste management systems. It's gotten that bad. When you used to have local governments in Lagos in the 70s and 80s that were embarking on huge infrastructural projects like the City Hall, transportation systems, and all of that, we have now descended to a point where we cannot even keep our environment clean. And so I believe, and from the feelers I get when I get into several of these communities, is that they are tired of the status quo. And they want something new, they want something different, a local government administrator that can feel their pulse, that indeed works for the people.
Hold on, because I know that you have a sweet mouth. Yeah? But when you said you have gotten feelers, how scientific is that? Because
now, I must
to win
say
election, you need numbers.
Of course, and I must say to you, I have been, and I don't take pride in this, and I don't take pride in it. I'd like to see a more contested election. But I can tell you for free that in all the communities I've visited, whether it's Itedo, Ikota, Jakonde, Ikate, I am the only candidate that has visited many of the people in their communities. The incumbent doesn't care because they believe that, you know, the primary elections was already coronation ceremony, and when you get your ticket, you automatically become chairman of that local government. And so they do not bother visiting people in these communities to engage them, to understand what the problems are.
Would you have known if
are.
they actually visit?
Well, of course I would know, because they would tell you. Nobody has come there. I can tell you that for free, that nobody is engaging people at the local level, right? And it saddens me because...
But it's supposed to be a local government election.
Yes.
So the local people are supposed to be the ones
yes.
to be visited, right?
That's what I'm saying. So you can't have an incumbent who are not even doing the work or the heavy lifting of trying to engage people in the communities. Well, of course, that confers an advantage to people like us because our message is resonating. People are believing in the message and people are looking forward, to some of the ideas that I propose and seeing them being implemented at the local level, believing that it will change their lives.
We're going to get back to how you intend to get those numbers. But one of the most ambitious aspects of your platform is the 5 billion fund for young creatives, right? In Etiosa. Where will this money come from?
Well, first of all, when people talk about where I'm going to find the monies to fund some of my bold agenda, I always like to emphasize that every resource that accrues to the people of Etiosa will be spent squarely and only for the people of Etiosa. And we're going to prioritize only projects and interventions that will improve their lives and their livelihood. The 5 billion is not going to be, some sort of a total seed fund that happens, all at once. It's going to be staggered across the 4 years of the first term in office. It's going to be some sort of a rolling fund, about 1 billion every year. But I think people must realize that Etiosa local government receives a federal allocation of an average of 2.2 to 2.5 billion a month, right? And so let's even use the worst case scenario because, sometimes these things fluctuate. On average, they will do 2 billion a month, only from FAC. This has nothing to do with internally generated revenue, right? And if you put internally generated revenue together, you're looking at the local government that does averagely between 3 to 4 billion monthly. So there is more than enough to put aside for interventions that will create opportunities for young people, like the Creative Fund that I talk about. And it's simply just for young people to have access to little funding to push their dreams forward. And as you know, Etiosa is the creative capital of the continent. You have so many young people who want to be creative, who want to shoot YouTube content, who want to be fashion designers, who want to be graphic designers, who want to be photographers. We just want to create a platform where these people can access funding, can pursue their dreams, and impact meaningfully to society.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, we'll continue with this conversation. Stay with us, everyone. Candidate for Etiosa local government, thank you for staying the course on the program.
Thank you.
So I've heard what you said about the 5 billion fund that you're proposing. It will be spread across the 4-year tenure. Some have mentioned that it might be overly ambitious or difficult to execute at the level with which you have proposed it. I've also heard people say that you are up against a well-funded political machine. What is your strategy for reaching voters, and how are you financing your campaign? Because you don't have that 2.2 billion budget yet.
Very good point. Well, to be honest with you, every time I'm asked this question about the size of my party against the behemoth that is the APC, and truly I say to them that it's not the size of my party that will be on the ballot on that day. It's going to be the size of my vision and how people buy into the vision that I'm selling to them. And I can tell you for free that that vision is resonating with a lot of people. But of course, you also have to be pragmatic as to what foils this entire campaign. And I must admit that it's not been easy. But we've had, a bit of support here and there. My political party typically is self-funded, where we put monthly contributions by party members every month, as is done in the United Kingdom.
Why not just join the APC? Is it that difficult? I mean, instead of waiting on Ajo to run an election.
Oh God, you almost made me fall off my chair because I didn't see that coming. I
mean, why not just join the APC?
No, talking seriously, talking seriously, I struggle, really and truly. I struggle to join a party where they call for elections, primary elections on a Saturday, and they tell us to buy forms for that primary elections that will happen on Saturday. And on Tuesday, you receive a phone call that there is a candidate.
That actually happened. Oh, you're making it up.
Now that's a problem, because it shows that there is no internal democracy. And I believe strongly that if people cannot abide to the dictates of their own constitution as a political party, it will be difficult for them to have fidelity to the constitution.
I get my answer now. You wanted to join.
No.
You just did not like what was happening there.
No, of course, you
Yes.
can join any political party in the country. And, growing up, once you become an adult, you shop for the political party that you want to join and participate in. And then, when you see that the political party hasn't created a level playing field, obviously you want to test your fortune in parties that allow you some level of playing field to participate.
Let us speak more generally.
Yeah.
Many Nigerians still don't feel the impact of the local government autonomy.
Yes.
Because of what some have called perhaps limited autonomy.
Yes.
So as chairmanship hopeful, how do you plan to navigate that challenge of the state governments often exerting control over local council funds and decisions, even though Lagos, claims that doesn't happen?
You have touched on a nerve. And this is a fight not for politicians like us who are running for office. I think it's a fight for residents across Lagos and residents across the country to fight so that the resources that accrues to your local government are used and spent by the people you elect to preside over those local governments. It's a fundamental issue. And I also quickly want to use this medium to plead with the Attorney General of the Federation, right? To wield the big stick evenly across the country. Because I see that he takes very strong stance, in places like Osun, where he has advised for local government funds to be withheld from the state, except sanity is restored. I think the same thing applied in Rivers State before they went on the state of emergency. That same big stick should be wielded in places like Lagos, where the impunity of holding on to illegal 37 LCDs has continued, right? I'd like to see the Attorney General make a clear verbatim statement that only 20 local governments are recognized. After all,
Or maybe just make the 57 local governments.
He was the one, of course, under the orders of Mr. President, who took 36 governors to the Supreme Court to demand autonomy for local governments. And if you looked at all of the reliefs that he sought, it wasn't just independence for local financial independence. There were issues that, Mr. Lateef Ademi sought from the Supreme Court that were granted, some of which included if there were breaches to Section 1 and 7 of the Constitution, where states failed to comply to the mandatory provisions of that constitution, local government funds were going to be withheld from those states. He relied on that provision to withhold local government funds from Osun. And the same provision, Section 1, Schedule 1 of the Constitution, clearly lists the entire amount of local governments in this federation. And so if you breach that, funds are supposed to be withheld from that state. So we should be pressuring, the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation to ensure that sanity prevails.
I'm told we have completely
in Lagos State
run out of time. We're probably going to have this conversation. When is the election?
It's 12th of July.
12th of July.
Yes.
We'll probably have this conversation subsequently. Ayodele Adio, Youth Party Chairmanship at TIOSA, is a friend of the house. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. And don't throw questions like that.
Well, that's the show today, everyone. Thanks a lot for being